Hey, good morning, friends. It is Dave, kind of coming from a quiet corner of the house, and just have a few things to share with you. A little bit sleepy today. Had a chance to go to one of my former staff members' weddings, Eric Eck, and it was a great wedding. But it was a really hard drive, really bad roads. But we kept on track. I always like to give advice to people that are getting married. And I always say to them, I say, one of the key things for you is this. On the wedding night, all of the activities are going to be done. You're going to come into the room together with your wife, and you got an important decision. One of the most important decisions you're going to make in your entire marriage. And that decision is which side of the bed are you going to sleep on? And most couples don't think about it, but I remember that very moment when Kristen and I got married. And to this day, I still think I chose the wrong side. And I think once you choose a side, that's the side you're going to get kind of stuck with throughout the whole process. But it was fun. It was fun to be out there. I wanted to share a couple things with you today and then show a little bit of a story video that I did outside when I was cross-country skiing earlier today. And what I'm thinking about today really comes from a number of places in the scripture. And again, the beauty of the scripture is that as you read it, you learn more about God, about who he is, about what he loves, about what he cares about. And what we find out is how much he cares about us. With interns last week, I was reading through Genesis chapters 1 and 2. And in Genesis chapter 1, God creates the world out of this void, out of this nothing. God creates the world. God creates animals. God creates all things. And it reminds me of the power of God. It reminds me of the difficulty that people always say that I want to understand God. I want to know everything about him. And in reality, if a God of the universe, and not if, but the God of the universe created everything, what are the chances of us being able to ever comprehend everything? But he made everything. And I was reading the book of Mark in the first chapter. It was talking about Jesus. And Jesus was baptized. And then he began to teach with incredible wisdom. And he went over to Simon's house, and his mother-in-law was in bed, and Jesus healed her. And then after he healed her, he began to heal other people, and people started coming from all over, and they were healed. And I think about the power of God, and I think about the power of Jesus, and I think about in the book of Psalms, I was reading Psalm 147, and it was talking about how God heals the brokenhearted, how God lifts up the downtrodden, how God understands us. And I think about this great God, and I want you to think about this powerful God, this healing God, this caring God. And then with my interns, we read chapter 2 of Genesis, where it says in there that God saw that man should not be alone, so he created for him a companion. That was Eve. He created a companion because he saw you and he saw me, and he realized that we should not be alone. We shouldn't be alone. And I think about that. The God that created everything, God that did all these things, cares that much for us. In fact, what I'd say is God cares about community. And the community that you're involved in, the community that I'm involved in. In fact, I believe that he cares about the community we're in more than we care about the community we're in. I don't know about you, but my communities tend to evolve around where I work. And when I was younger, the people I went to school with, a lot of times I just fell into communities. As I grew older, that changed a bit. But I want to ask you some questions this week. I want you to think about I want you to think about the communities that you surround yourself with. I want you to think about what communities, what people that you hang around with bring you life. What friends, what community around you take life away from you. When you're done being with them, you feel empty and you feel a little less than you were before. You feel exhausted. What kind of communities? Think about those communities in your life. How do you feel about those communities that you live in? And what I want you to do this week is I want you to ask God to bring to your attention things about the communities that you hang out with, things that you need to know, and then allows you to make decisions. Are there communities, are there people that you hang around with that you need to spend perhaps less time with? That maybe you need to find a new community like that. For a lot of people, church is a place of great community. But for a lot of us with COVID and with politics, our churches have become toxic. And toxic for you and perhaps for your family. And maybe it's a time for you to say, I need to find a new place to worship. Maybe it's a time where you say, the people that I socialize with, it's not good. It's not uplifting anymore. Maybe they're caught up into those same things that people within the churches are getting caught up in. And you need to look around and you need to say, this isn't the best community for me. I want you this week to ask God to reveal to you things about the communities that you hang out in, and then to help guide you to communities that can help make you healthy and can bring joy and peace and love to your life. God cares so much about your community that he created a companion for us. And he created a church for us. He created all these things. He thought those things through. I want you this week to think through those people in your life, those people in the communities of your life. And if some of those are not healthy, as best you can, either change that relationship or move on. And then second of all, create communities that you need. You and your spouse, or you and your spouse and your kids. Ask God to provide for you new places to be and new places to hang out. Make that a priority, the community that you're involved with. If you're married, it's got to be more than just your spouse. It's awfully hard to be a spouse and be a best friend. Try to look around for communities that are around you. Make that a goal of yours. Some of those communities now may need to be distant. Some of those communities may need to be virtual. Some of those communities may need to be on a phone. But if anybody uses a phone anymore. But I want you to consider that today. The God of the universe that created all things created us to be in community. Think about the communities you're involved in. Ask God to bring you to an understanding of those communities and to bring you to a place to find new communities that you might need. God bless and enjoy the Super Bowl this week. Thanks. Hey, good morning, friends. Dave, and on the snowstorm. I loved it. Yesterday I was able to use these skinnier skis. Today I had to go for the fatter skis. I don't know about you, but when things get rough, things get like windy and snowy, I just am drawn outside. I love to be outside in it. And when I ski, every time I cross-country ski, I think about back in junior high in Minnesota. My gym teacher, my phys ed teacher, was a guy named Mr. Japeski. And Mr. Japeski taught us how to cross-country ski. We would get a temperature for the snow. We'd get a certain color wax. We'd put it on the bottom of our skis. We would cork it smooth. And he would never let you ski until it was completely smooth. He said you had to have your gear ready to go if you're going out into the cold. And then he would always remind us of something. He would say, never cross-country ski alone. Never go out into the cold without somebody there to look out for you. And I think about that every single time I cross-country ski. I think of Mr. Japeski. I think about the wax. I think about doing it with somebody else. I bring this word to you today because this is a storm right here, but we're kind of living in a storm. It is a wonderful world and amazing things are happening, but there's difficult things as well. And what I want to encourage you is this. We read in the Bible just yesterday with my interns. We read from Genesis chapter 2, where God said it is not good for man to be alone. And I think of Mr. Japeski saying, never go out into the wilderness by yourself. And I want you to focus this weekend with the Super Bowl coming, and however you can do this in a COVID-friendly way, think about community. Think about going out into the world around you with people that have got your back, people that are going to be with you, that are going to care for you, and that you can care for them. It's the only safe way to do things. It's the only fun way to do things. And I want to challenge you today, find that person or those people to be with, but send a message or a note to others that have been your companions along the way. God bless. I got to go shovel, and we'll see you next week.